Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to My World, My People. My name is John Hernandez. I am the host of this new show here on Webcast One Live, and delighted to be with you and looking forward to having a lot of fun on this program. What I intend to do is to bring you guests from all areas of life, all walks of life, at least people that have come across my life experience. And that experience includes broadcasting, politics, education, sports, horse racing. Right now I serve as the in-house television commentator and handicapper at Prairie Meadows Racetrack in Altoona, Iowa. And we are between seasons right now out there, so when racing kicks back into gear at Prairie Meadows, you can be sure that we will have guests related to thoroughbred racing. And again, all sorts of different perspectives I'm going to bring to you on My World, My People. We'll do this every Thursday, 1:30 here on Webcast One Live, and it'll be a lot of fun. And I expect as we get going with this broadcast, it will have your participation as well, not only on a weekly basis as part of the show, but suggesting possible guests and possible ideas, possible discussions that we can have here on My World, My People. Now today I was supposed to have Mac McCoy, and we were going to go over how this all got started for me here back almost a year ago here in this very spot. But Mac, unfortunately, under the weather today, sick. Michael Libby will be here with me in just a few minutes, and we'll try to reconstruct a little bit of that ancient history and talk about Webcast One Live and what a wonderful platform, what a wonderful opportunity it is for those of us who host shows and those of us who might think about doing that in the future. Back with My World, My People in just a minute on Webcast One Live.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios. Listen, watch, chat. This is Webcast One Live. Programs on webcastonelive.com are brought to you in part by KDC Builders. Building custom homes for how you live. KDC will take your dreams and turn them into reality. Go to our website, kdcbuilt.com, or call Hannah Inman at 515-975-9990. And Tom Coates and ConsumerCreditOfAmerica.com. Are you overwhelmed with mounted credit card debt and feel there's no way out? Well, there is. Call 1-800-955-5765 for Consumer Credit of America. That's ccofamerica.com.
And hello again, John Hernandez back with the debut edition of My World, My People, newest show here on Webcast One Live in the beautiful Kaleidoscope Hub in downtown Des Moines, Iowa. This is my first broadcast on this new platform. I'm excited to be part of the team here at Webcast One Live, and certainly owe a big debt of thanks to Mac McCoy, who I met almost a year ago in this very location downtown Des Moines, and that was then, and now is now, and Mac has finally gotten me to jump in and take a program here on Webcast One Live. I'm excited about it. What I intend to do with My World, My People is to bring you a variety of guests from all different walks of life, people that have crossed my path over the time of my involvement not only in broadcasting, television, radio broadcasting, thoroughbred racing, but even the people that I have met in the years since I have moved from California, my native California, to Des Moines, Iowa, and taken up residence north of Des Moines in Slater, Iowa, population about 1,500, small town Iowa. Been a lot of fun, but I tell you what, I didn't want to come here and see, what was it, 69, 70 inches of snow last winter. That's what happened, and fortunately so far this year we haven't had quite as much snow. As I mentioned before our first break, Michael Libby has graciously decided to spend an extra half hour in the studio with me. He, of course, was on earlier today on Webcast One Live. Mac McCoy was supposed to be here, but he is under the weather. Hopefully he'll be feeling better, and Mac someday will join me here on the broadcast, and we'll retrace the steps that led from that original meeting quite some time ago to now, my broadcast here My World, My People on Webcast One Live. Michael Libby, welcome to the broadcast.
Thanks,
I know
John.
that you're coming in here on late notice and joining me after having your show broadcast earlier in the day. But one of the things that I'm really excited about being part of this team is not only the potential that I see in this platform, but just the group of people that's come together. And it seems like it's almost to me like a perfect storm here at Webcast One Live.
Well, you know, we started out, as you know, in kind of a rocky start. We had some equipment issues that didn't work right prior to Webcast One Live. And we took a hiatus for a couple of months and rebranded ourselves as Webcast One Live, redid some studios, upgraded our equipment, hired full-time professional producers here. And so the whole tenor of this platform today at Webcast One Live is drastically different than what it was 2 years ago when we were broadcasting from a closet in Miss Kitty's in Clive, Iowa. You know, so yeah, and I think that you'll find, you know, our business model before Webcast One Live was this: if you could talk, you had a show. and I think we had something like 67 hosts on the old platform. And what we decided to do was make this a much more professional platform this time around. Bring people in that had some experience. Bring people in that had a following. Bring people in that had really something to say. And so we've rounded out, I think, our shows to meet that demand. You've got you've got Mac McCoy starting at 9 o'clock, and he's, you know, politics and worldview and his wacko right-wing fringe elements that he brings in. Mm-hmm. And then of course we have Liz Need, who comes in and she does a lifestyle show. My show follows at noon, and we talk about business, advertising, marketing, consumer trends, those kinds of things. And then we have a variation of shows, all attempting to complement the shows prior. Jeff Bratz is on, and we're going to have Silicon Prairie News is coming in. And so at the 1:30 hour. And so there's a number of shows that follow that. And then every evening we have that left-wing wacko, Bruce Stone, who comes in to do his show on a political bent. So as we build and as we bring more people, talented people with something to say and something to share here to Webcast One Live, I think that you're going to see our entire footprint expand.
You know, I'm really excited because this platform to me is a blend of what's best about so many different aspects of media. You've got audio, you've got video, you've got the potential for live chatting, blogging, social media. All of those aspects of what we would call new media are present in this platform. Now, I'm an old radio guy.
Right.
Back in the days when we actually physically cut audio tape to edit.
Oh, yeah, me too, man.
And so this is like, wow, how did we get from there to here? And it's really neat for me to be on the ground floor of this because to me, it's just got unlimited potential.
Yeah, well, you know, and now that you're able to make us mobile, I remember it was maybe a year or so ago when we were sitting in a parking lot and somebody says, you know, you guys aren't going to be real until I can pick you up in your car, in my car. Mm-hmm. Well, now you can do that. You can do that with your smartphones, and you can pick us up using a number of apps and applications that are out there. You listen to us or watch us 24/7 on a podcast, for example. See the old broadcast. So really, what this is an amalgamation, and you're absolutely right, John. It's an amalgamation of old-time radio, but with a real key interest to the video component.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And to me, what you do with the video is equally as important as anything else, if not more, because what you don't want to get into is a situation where it's just a radio show and there happens to be a webcam in the studio.
Yeah, and I think that was when we started this whole thing several years ago. There was me and Mac and a couple of others, and we were radio guys. We were radio, and I had TV broadcasting experience, but for the most part, we were radio guys, and so we treated it almost like exactly what you say. It was a radio station that happened to have a camera in front of it. We were wearing headphones and the whole 9 yards. And you know, aesthetically, it wasn't right. It wasn't right for how we do this, and so I'm really grateful to Rob Spearman, who came along at the right time. He was a sponsor at the old platform. He came along and he decided that he was going to make the changes necessary, as an owner here with Webcast One Live, and as a managing partner, and then really change not only the how we do it, but also the structure and the feel of everything that you see here.
And big commitment on Rob's part, and I know that
big commitment.
This is almost his baby now, based on the reincarnation after the original concept was changed.
Yeah, and I think that viewers here to your show, John, and to all the other fine shows that are going to come are going to be seeing some real variety in what they see, and some real interesting things. We had a comedy show start last week, was it, Max? And was it just the other day? Gosh, how time flies. But we had a comedy show in, and that was at 7:30 at night, I believe, wasn't it? And, Zach and the guys that came in here, and they were just goofy and crazy and fun, and had great numbers. And so I think as we get to know each other and we work side by side as co-hosts here on the platform, we're going to be able to help promote each other and the diversity that we bring to the entire platform.
Yeah, no doubt. Now, let me get back to something that you mentioned just a minute ago, and somebody had told you that they weren't going to watch it until it's real.
Yeah, right.
And to me, that's always been one of the major hurdles that this new media concept has to deal with. Yeah. Whether it was just webcast radio or streaming.
FM radio.
Yeah.
I was around, I was in broadcasting. Well, it was a little bit before my broadcasting days, but I remember very well FM radio beginning. All we had when I was a kid, I'm 60 years old, all we had when I was a kid was AM radio. Mm-hmm. And if you happened to like long hair music, which was a whole totally different thing than the Beatles, if you happened to like long hair music, you would listen to FM radio. And nobody had it, nobody heard about it, it was just there wasting away. And now, today, in today's world, you ask somebody about FM radio, and so, well, of course, there's always been FM radio.
Yeah.
Well, it's like there's not always been satellite radio, and satellite radio is a mainstay. This really is the next form of media, and because it incorporates so many interesting components, and you mentioned it, John, social media with Twitter, with Facebook, with the blogging opportunities to go ahead and put it in print, with the visual television production qualities, and also the audio qualities on podcasts. This is the real thing. And like I've told so many people, we'd much rather be in the parade than watch it pass by.
Yeah, no kidding. Now, given that, every person that walks past us here in the Kaleidoscope Hub gets bombarded literally 24/7 with some sort of media message, whether it's cable television, on-air television, radio, whatever it is. So what is it that this new platform, this new baby, so to speak, has to do to become part of their psyche, to become part of something that they say, okay, this is part of my day, it's always going to be part of my day?
Well, we don't believe, I don't believe, I'm a professional in the world of advertising and marketing. That's what I do for a living. Mm-hmm. This is fun. Mm-hmm. But we believe in the advertising world that traditional media is not going to go away. It's going to change. Webcast One has not employed any traditional media. I think I take that back. Last year during the Cubs baseball season, we went out and I think we spent about $100. It was $10 a throw for every home game, and then we would have our 60-second promo up on the big screen.
Right.
That is as much money as we've spent in traditional media pushing this particular platform in this network. Now, the interesting thing about that is last month we had over 61,000 viewers. And this has all been pushed through the world of social media. And so I think that we will employ, in the coming months, we will employ some traditional marketing. I know that there's soon to be an article in the Des Moines Business Record about this adventure. And I think that once we start to be being made fun of by traditional media out there, by local television stations, local radio stations, we'll have hit the big time because we'll start to affect them. And they'll help us.
Well, what is the Gandhi quote? When it gets to that making fun of or the ridicule part,
you know you're there.
Yep, you've won the battle. Once it... What is it? They ignore you.
Yeah, then they make fun of you.
Then they make fun of you, and then they fight you, and then you win.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's kind of
if you can get to that point where they start to ridicule you, then the next step is going to be they're going to do whatever it takes to fight you, and then eventually people are going to say, hey, this is where it's at. Now, given that, I know there's a lot of speculation about what might happen in the long run with the internet and how it's policed and how it's regulated. Do you see that coming into play at all?
No, I don't. I think I don't. You know, there's a lot of folks that like to float all kinds of conspiracies out there, all kinds of reactionary issues. I don't think so. I think we. On the heels of WikiLeaks, for example, you know, there was all this conversation about having to control the media, having to control the internet, and I don't think that's possible, quite frankly, because we've got the opportunity to change and function this at any time. You know, it's an interesting parallel. Back in the day, okay, and you know this, John. I don't know how old you are, but
well,
you must.
Actually, let me just tell you, I'm only 4 years younger than you.
Okay, there you go. Well, you look much younger, so it must be a hell of a lot better lifestyle. But you know, I remember the days when I was growing up, and there were pirate radio stations out there. Pirate radio stations anchored in the Gulf of Mexico, over the border. Our good friend, who was a broadcaster out in California, his name was Wolfman Jack. Wolfman Jack, who was also Latino, happened to cut his teeth on pirate radio. And you know, why were they doing that? Well, because FM broadcast was so new, and so they were taking this thing to the streets, and they were playing music that nobody in the United States would play at powers that nobody else would play. You know, because they were running 100,000 watts and 600-foot sticks in the middle of nowhere. You know, and so I think, and then it became mainstream. I think that's also with the internet. You know, people are trying to figure out a way to monetize this. They're trying to find a way to tax it. It might happen somewhere down the way. I think the net neutrality thing is probably a good idea. Did it go far enough? Not necessarily. But I think that, you know, I'm not going to worry about that at this point, in this juncture. We got lots of things to say, lots of things to talk about, lots of lives that we can touch. And this is the exciting, powerful media that we get to do it with.
And funny you would bring up Wolfman Jack, because the station in San Diego, where I grew up, was the Mighty 690.
There you go.
And it was broadcast out of Tijuana, Mexico, on a big, giant stick. And eventually that went away. And at one point in my career, I did a program on the Mighty 690 when it turned into a sports station. And that was my first venture on a foreign-based radio station.
There you go.
For Sports 690, the Mighty 690, the historic station that was once the place of Wolfman Jack. We'll take a break. You're listening to My World, My People on Webcast One Live.
The Kincaids live here. Across the street, the Padillas. Ben and his family live here too. Ben's a RE/MAX agent, and he's a big part of this community. There are lots of reasons why RE/MAX agents average more sales than other agents. Experience, certainly. But maybe it's also because they care about the markets they serve and the neighbors who rely on them. Nobody sells more real estate than RE/MAX.
Whether you're 10, 25, 50, 80 years old and beyond, everyone needs to live within their means. I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America. For almost a quarter of a century, we've helped people of all ages learn to manage their personal finances to benefit them far into the future. When problems arise, we've got the experience you need to make those debt problems go away. Got financial problems? Call Consumer Credit of America.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios. Listen, watch, chat. This is Webcast One Live. Programs on webcastonelive.com are brought to you in part by KDC Builders. Building custom homes for how you live. KDC will take your dreams and turn them into reality. Go to our website, kdcbuilt.com, or call Hannah Inman at 515-975-9990. And Tom Coates and ConsumerCreditOfAmerica.com. Are you overwhelmed with mounted credit card debt and feel there's no way out? Well, there is. Call 1-800-955-5765 for Consumer Credit of America. That's ccofamerica.com.
And John Hernandez back on My World, My People, newest show here on Webcast One Live, broadcasting from downtown Des Moines on a beautiful Thursday afternoon. And glad you could be part of this debut show. Originally, I was scheduled to have Mac McCoy, who is the person that brought me here to Webcast One Live, join me and talk about how it all came to be, but Mac, unfortunately, under the weather today. So here I sit with Michael Libby. And Michael, one of the things that's been very interesting to me, just in my short time here in Des Moines, Iowa, is how many interesting people that I have crossed paths with. A lot of it started out at Prairie Meadows when I took over as the in-house television commentator out there. And what I intend to do with this show is to bring those people into the fold and allow the viewers of the show to just kind of get inside the heads of some of those people that they may know from television blips, sound bites, or quotes in the newspaper. Somebody that comes to mind right off the bat, well, actually, two or three that come to mind right off the bat. Maggie Moss out of Prairie Meadows. I see her almost every night of racing out of Prairie Meadows. Very interesting person. Yeah, tons of interesting data about Maggie, not only from the criminal lawyer part, but from her involvement in thoroughbred horse racing.
And a nice Jewish girl at that. That's why I love her.
Then we've got Jerry Crawford, who is part of that.
A nice Democrat.
There you go. Donegal Racing, and of course they had their summer of fun with Patio Prado, their good horse, who actually at one point I thought was going to be the turf horse of the year, still may be, but ran in the Breeders' Cup Classic last November and had to settle for fifth. But I wish Jerry would have run Patty in one of the turf races in Kentucky, but they decided not to. But Jerry Crawford, of course, integral part of not only everything here in Des Moines, but everything in thoroughbred racing. He's now part of the Breeders' Cup board and has some other duties as far as racing are concerned. Tom Lepick is a man that I met during the quarter horse season out of Prairie Meadows, former Iowa wrestler, got his hands on a horse by the name of Spit Curl Diva, who just ran off an incredible record last summer, and probably next Wednesday will be voted the older quarter horse female of the year. So a couple of horse racing connections there. During my time at Prairie Meadows, I've also had a chance to work with people like Maxwell and Pam out at KIOA, and it'd be nice to get some of those people in here and just really let people get behind
and
the
nice thing about that, the nice thing about Iowa, and you said a couple of interesting things there, and coming from California, which, is California, a great place to live, but you really don't get the opportunity to meet up with the power brokers or the people that make a difference because they run in so different circles. Here in Iowa, particularly here in Iowa and in Des Moines, we've got the opportunity, and many people are just absolutely wide open to the opportunity to come and visit and exchange ideas on a platform like this. So you're going to find great success there. I think the other thing that you said that was really pretty surprising, perhaps to some of the viewers who are watching for the first time today, you're talking about the horse racing business. Well, the equine business is an absolutely huge business here in Iowa. And I don't think many people know that. No,
I don't think they do. And that tends to be the way it is in most states where there's big thoroughbred or some sort of equine business. What people see at the surface is the racing.
Sure. There's all kinds of stuff going on.
Whether it's thoroughbred or whether it's quarter horse, even standard breds here in the state of Iowa. Mm-hmm. What they don't understand, that's just the tip of the pyramid. And underneath that lies so many industries that depend on the health of that industry at the top of the pyramid. That to me is always a concern in any racing jurisdiction, is that when you start messing around with that thing at the top, it has a huge fallout. And
exactly, and and anywhere, the horse business, as you know, John, is such a fragile business. Mm-hmm. When the United States outlawed or banned horse slaughter facilities here in the United States, that had a direct impact on the price of horses, not maybe at the top of the pyramid, but throughout the rest of the area. And then we talk about the horse industry and how people have been turning horses loose because they can't afford to feed them, and because there's no place to dispose of ill or sick or unwanted horses. And it's a fascinating industry. And I don't think many people comprehend how many things go into, from the feeding, from the pharmaceuticals to the equipment, to the, from saddles to bridles to all the tack, all of those things, including silly things like hay business and and sales of acreages.
Yeah, and it's always easy to paint with a broad brush. And when I look at even my little niche, which is the world of horse racing, thoroughbreds, quarter horses, it's like any other walk of life. Good people, bad people.
Oh boy, yeah.
It's just, you just can't paint with that broad brush and say, okay, they're just a bunch of crooks or a bunch of cheats. Or you can't say they're all good guys, because it just runs the gamut. It's like taking
but it is an interesting
of
industry,
life.
and I think as you expose some of those things, and that's a bad word to use, but as you peel back the layers of what goes into this horse industry in your show and the other things that you're going to be doing, I think that'll be a great service to people out there to go, oh, really? I didn't understand that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and one of the things that I've always tried to do when I was not only a radio broadcaster but a television broadcaster is I understand that at the root of all this thing is people. And if you can allow those watching or those participating in your program just to kind of feel like they're behind the scenes with you and just kind of get a little privy with some of these people that they only know on the periphery, it makes a big difference in your ability to be able to present somebody in a better light than somebody might have thought of them before.
I was just checking the comments here, John. There's one of our regular viewers here on the platform says he prefers distance races when it comes to horses. Got to let them out, open up, and play. Going in a circle makes the poor thing and other riders dizzy, I think.
Well, and the funny thing about that is, this summer was my first experience with quarter horse racing, and I found that actually was much easier for me to figure out than the thoroughbreds, because you take two big things out of the equation. Pace.
Right.
The gate opens, everybody goes.
Right.
Okay? There's no concern about is it going to be a slow pace or a fast pace.
Right.
And you also take position out of the equation. Doesn't matter whether you drew, well, it might matter a little bit whether you drew down on the fence or you drew outside, but for the most part, you're just going to run a straight line.
Yeah.
Unlike the thoroughbreds where, you're marooned outside of a 10-horse field with the turn coming up pretty quick, it makes a difference. So to me, it was a lot of fun. And
I think also, you talk about quarter horses and quarter horse racing. The speed of those animals in that very short period of time is just fabulous.
I would invite anybody who wants to, once the season starts at Prairie Meadows, I'll take you down and we'll watch a race from the winner's circle.
Oh, that'd be cool.
If you've never seen thoroughbreds break from the starting gate, or thoroughbreds come down the finish line, or quarter horses run past you, even somebody, my daughter is 9 years old, and she's been to thoroughbred races since she was a baby, but when she saw that first quarter horse race, and they started down at the end of the chute and ran past, and that was it, her comment was not, well, is that all there is? Her comment was, wow, they're fast.
Yeah.
Because in thoroughbreds, they tend to get position coming down the stretch, so you get one horse here and a couple here, but nada, stagger back. Here it's like this one wall of horses, and she was pretty blown away.
And your heart just goes right into your throat with that stuff too, because it just the excitement, the adrenaline, the pounding of those hooves, and the earth shakes as they go by.
Yeah, and again, at the bottom of that whole thing is people, trainers, jockeys, all of those people, for the most part, out there to make a hard-working, honest living. And when you get into their heads and you see what they're all about, you'll see that they are good people, and for the most part, they're doing all they can, given the horses they have, given the ability that they have as a human being, as a trainer or a jockey, to do their best. And to me, I'm not one of those. I'm never a blame the jockey or blame the trainer kind of guy. You either lose the race because your ticket has the wrong number and you made the wrong decision.
Right.
That's all there is to it. But again, I've had a chance to cross paths with some very interesting people. discovered that a girl that grew up with me in La Jolla, California, who I really didn't know because she went to a private school, is a tennis professional here in the Des Moines area, Bunny Brunning, out at, I can't even remember the name of the place she's at, out on the east side, over by Hickman Road somewhere. So here are two people from La Jolla, California, almost the exact same age, end up in Des Moines, Iowa. I'm a tennis player. She was a tennis pro at one time.
Really?
And here she is in Des Moines, Iowa,
there you go.
Teaching the game. So there's another person that would be a very interesting person to have on the show.
You'll have lots of opportunity here.
I found out that Reg Simon, the coach of the Des Moines Buccaneers,
there you go,
has a connection to the University of Alaska Anchorage. And I
spent some time
I spent 4 years in Anchorage, Alaska. I was the lead sportscaster at Channel 2 in Anchorage, Alaska, 84 through 88. And you probably know this. Maybe not all of the viewers know it, but I was the guy. You can blame it on me or you can praise me. I was the guy that gave Sarah Heath Palin her first break in broadcasting. Yeah, she walked into Channel 2 as a 24-year-old college graduate, wanted to speak to the guy in charge of sports. It was me. The receptionist called me. I was back in the offices, and she said, "There's a girl here who wants to talk to somebody about sports." And I went out there, and this vibrant, bubbly young 24-year-old said, "Hi, I'm Sarah Heath, and I want to learn how to do sports." And I said, "Well, let's sit down for a few minutes and we'll see what we can do." And I decided to offer her an unpaid internship at the time. And she spent about 3 months at the station, eventually got paid after I left the station to do some weekend work. And from there, you know what happened.
Yeah, she became mayor. Oh, governor, wait. Yes.
Among other things.
And almost became the vice president.
And actually, I had lost connection with her for 20 plus years. And it was not until last December when she was in town for a book signing that we finally had a chance to talk to each other face to face, and it was pretty neat. I mean, how often is somebody that comes across your life path end up on a presidential ballot?
Not often.
No, not often at all. But anyway, so those are the kind of people that I'm going to bring, people that for some reason we've converged here in the central part of the nation, or some reason our paths have crossed either through Thoroughbred Racing or some of my connection in Des Moines broadcasting. Let's take a break. We'll be back with more. You're watching My World, My People on Webcast One Live.
The Kincaids live here. Across the street, the Padillas. Ben and his family live here too. Ben's a RE/MAX agent, and he's a big part of this community. There are lots of reasons why RE/MAX agents average more sales than other agents. Experience, certainly. But maybe it's also because they care about the markets they serve and the neighbors who rely on them. Nobody sells more real estate than RE/MAX.
Whether you're 10, 25, 50, 80 years old and beyond, everyone needs to live within their means. I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America. For almost a quarter of a century, we've helped people of all ages learn to manage their personal finances to benefit them far into the future. When problems arise, we've got the experience you need to make those debt problems go away. Got financial problems? Call Consumer Credit of America.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios. Listen, watch, chat. This is Webcast One Live. Programs on webcast1live.com are brought to you in part by KDC Builders. Building custom homes for how you live. KDC will take your dreams and turn them into reality. Go to our website, kdcbuilt.com, or call Hannah Inman at 515-975-9990. And Tom Coates and ConsumerCreditOfAmerica.com. Are you overwhelmed with mounted credit card debt and feel there's no way out? Well, there is. Call 1-800-955-5765 for Consumer Credit of America. That's ccofamerica.com.
And John Hernandez flying solo now on My World, My People. This is the debut edition of this broadcast here on Webcast One Live in beautiful downtown Des Moines. Glad to be part of the team, and thanks to Michael Libby for spending an extra half hour in the studio with me. Originally, Mac McCoy was going to join me, but he is under the weather, and we'll have Mac on someday, and we'll kind of retrace those steps that led from a meeting here almost a year ago to now this show, My World, My People, on Webcast One Live. I will do my best over the course of this program to bring you interesting guests, interesting topics, people that have crossed my path of life, not only here in Des Moines, but in other areas. As I mentioned to Michael, found out quite by accident that Red Simon, the coach of the Des Moines Buccaneers USHL team, has a connection to the University of Alaska Anchorage. Now, I was in Anchorage between 84 and 88 when I was the lead sportscaster at Channel 2 in Anchorage, Alaska, the NBC affiliate up there. And we covered UAA sports, including their Division I UAA Seawolves hockey team. And during the time that I was there was a player on the Seawolves by the name of Mike Peluso, who eventually went on to play 500 games in the National Hockey League and won a Stanley Cup at New Jersey in 1995. I had the privilege of seeing Mike play in probably a dozen NHL games in maybe 5-6 different towns across the United States of America for 3 different teams. Saw him play for Ottawa, saw him play for the Devils, and saw him play for the St. Louis Blues. And I had an interesting Mike Peluso story it's almost been a year, last February. We decided to go to a Bucs game on a Friday night, and it was pretty dismal that night, but we decided to trudge on and head from the Ames area down to Buccaneers Arena on Hickman Road and watch the game, and it was an interesting game. And we thought a little bit about, I was wearing my Mike Peluso Devils jersey, and we thought a little bit about, I wonder where Mike is, or I wonder if anybody will see the Devils jersey with Peluso on the back and to say something about it. Because, whenever you wear a jersey of your favorite player from your favorite team, whether it's my LT powder blue number 21 or my Mike Peluso number 8 Devils jersey or my Ron Hextall number 27 Hershey Bears jersey, you don't wear it just to wear it. You expect to wear it, go to a game and have somebody say, hey, I remember that guy, or what are you doing with that kind of jersey? I was wearing the Hextall jersey once in San Diego, and a guy by the name of Joe Norris stopped me and said, hey, I played for that team. So you never know what's going to happen. Anyway, so I'm wearing my Peluso number 8 Devils jersey at Bucs Arena. February 9th, I believe, was the day, and the game is over. We're starting to walk out of the arena, and I hear somebody say, hey, John! And I look up, and there standing there is Mike Peluso. Hadn't seen him in many years. Probably hadn't had a chance to talk to him for, probably at least 10 years. And there he was scouting at the game for the Edmonton Oilers, and we had a nice chat, and it was good to see Mike again. And hopefully I'll see him again sometime at a Bucs game here during the course of this season. But that's the kind of people that I want to have on this broadcast. I want to have Red Simon on the show. He's already committed to joining me whenever I need him, assuming that the Buccaneers are in town that week. So we'll get Red Simon, people like that on the broadcast. I'm going to do my best to bring you a variety of people. Try to get Ken Miller from KXNO to join me for an afternoon. Ken was the former track announcer out at Prairie Meadows, now the sports host during the afternoon at KXNO, the Clear Channel station in Des Moines. And I was on with Ken probably half a dozen times during the racing season last year, talking about various events, including big days at Prairie Meadows, Kentucky Derby, Preakness, Belmont, Breeders' Cup, you name it. Ken Miller and I had conversations on KXNO about those big days. So we'll try to get Ken out here. Maxwell and Pam were out at Prairie Meadows with me 4 or 5 times during the course of the season. I was in studio with them quite a few times. So we'll do whatever we can to get those sort of people to join me here on My World, My People. The idea of the program is for me to bring you people that have crossed my life path, and we'll let you get privy with them, learn a little bit more about them, learn a little bit more about what they do, what makes them tick, and why I think they're interesting to you. Looking forward also to the start of the horse racing season. That comes up in about 3 months at Prairie Meadows. Live racing will resume on April 23rd out at Prairie Meadows. We'll have our 64-day thoroughbred season, followed by 25 days of quarter horse racing. All that will take place between April 23rd and the 1st of October. So it's just around the horizon, about 3 months off for opening day of the thoroughbred season at Prairie Meadows. And I tell you what, I really enjoyed that first season out at Prairie Meadows, getting to know the trainers, owners, and jockeys who make this stop a regular part of their annual trek. Usually what we get out at Prairie Meadows is we're part of the leg that starts with racing at Oaklawn Park in Hot Springs, Arkansas, then moves to Prairie Meadows for the summer and heads on to Remington Park for the rest of the winter. So most of the horsemen have figured out a way to establish a circuit, the jockeys as well. So I expect to see many of the same people back at Prairie Meadows for the 2011 season. Guys like Glenn Murphy, Alex Berger, whose mom works upstairs in the simulcast center at Prairie Meadows. Saw her this afternoon, and she's already looking forward to the start of live racing out there. Again, some of the interesting people that I had a chance to cross paths with at Prairie Meadows. Maggie Moss, who many of you know is a noted criminal attorney here in Des Moines, but I know her as the leading claiming owner in thoroughbred racing, and at one point she was the record holder for most wins in a year, and that was something that she really wanted to do in her career as a thoroughbred owner, and accomplished that goal, and continues to be one of the top claiming owners in thoroughbred racing. Tom Lepick, as I mentioned earlier, former Iowa wrestler, great guy, great ambassador for the sport of quarter horse racing. Really excited about his horse, Spit Curl Diva, who won 8 races at 6 different racetracks during the course of the 2010 campaign. The last one, the Champion of Champions, was not a good race, but she was really, really in over her head that night, and she did well. So we'll see what happens, and she should be voted as the top older quarter horse mare in quarter horse racing when the balloting is announced next week on the 12th by the American Quarter Horse Racing Association. So we'll bring Tom in here either way, win or lose, but I expect it's going to be to celebrate a victory by Spit Curl Diva as the top older quarter horse in America off a fantastic 2010 season. Jerry Crawford, another person that I had the pleasure of meeting during the course of racing in 2010, and of course he campaigned at Patio Prado, and Patio Prado was a close third, almost second in the 2010 Kentucky Derby. Went on to have a great campaign after that, and might have been better served to have run in a turf race at the Breeders' Cup at Churchill Downs in early November. Didn't do it, but still respectably 5th in the Breeders' Cup Classic. That, of course, was the fantastic race in which Zenyatta was attempting to go out as an undefeated champion and just couldn't get there, lost by a nose to blame at the wire. And we'll see what happens there, because they're going to announce the Horse of the Year coming up here in just a few minutes. So, as I mentioned, we'll get all kinds of guests in here, and this was kind of a soft opening show, what we call a soft opener, and didn't want to overcommit and underdeliver. So thanks to Michael Libby for spending some extra time in the studio with me. And eventually I'll get Mac McCoy in here when he's well, and we'll talk about how all this came to pass. It started actually, interestingly enough, I had picked up a copy of the Des Moines Juice, and that week's networking piece was about Mike Sansony. And Mike Sansony is kind of a social media guru. Right now he's out in Oregon. And we met and over coffee one morning, and he said, you know, you really ought to know Mac McCoy. He's got this thing going in the hub at the Kaleidoscope. It's Mac's World. And I didn't really understand what he was saying, but I checked it out, and then messaged Mac and said, hey, let's get together. I've got some questions and want to know more about what you're doing out here. And so Mac said, yeah, come on in. And we sat in the very office out here, and that was our first meeting. Things were different back then. And of course, over the course of the next few months, a lot of things changed. And now we're right here. My World, My People, Webcast One Live. This is the debut edition of the broadcast. Got some ideas and already scheduling guests out for the rest of this month. And as we get closer to the horse racing season at Prairie Meadows, you can bet that I'll have some racing-related guests, some media guests like Ken Miller, and we'll talk about the 2011 season out at Prairie Meadows. I was mentioning to Michael Libby that I do indeed have a Sarah Palin connection, and that took place in the winter of 1987 when a young girl by the name of Sarah Heath at the time walked into the studios at Channel 2 in Anchorage, Alaska. She wanted to do sports, and I wanted to give her that opportunity and actually allowed her to go on the air as an intern back in early 1988, which you might understand is pretty much unheard of. Even in a medium-sized market like Des Moines, chances of an intern doing the sportscast on any weekend, whether it's the most quiet weekend of them all, slim and none. But anyway, I gave her a chance. She did the sports for the first time Super Bowl Sunday on 1988 was the year, and as I recall, I think that was the Super Bowl in San Diego that Doug Williams and the Redskins won, and Doug Williams was the MVP of that Super Bowl. Played in my hometown of San Diego, California. To this day, I remain a big San Diego Chargers fan, so needless to say, I'm disappointed at what happened in 2010 for my Chargers. But, well, you know, you live to fight another day, and of course there will be another season in 2011. Got no real feelings about the NFL playoffs. Just really, at this point, we'll see what happens, and we'll see who ends up in the Super Bowl, and then I'll decide whether to spend my Sunday afternoon rooting for one team or cheering against another team. Admittedly, I did not want to see the New Orleans Saints win the Super Bowl last year. A couple of reasons. One, probably the biggest one, was that I knew it would fuel speculation that the Chargers should not have let Drew Brees go. They had to. He was hurt in that last game as a Charger, and Rivers was just being groomed to be the starting quarterback for the Chargers, and they had to let him go. So Brees went on and won the Super Bowl in New Orleans, and of course that added fuel to the fire that the Chargers made the bad decision, that A.J. Smith made a bad choice and should have kept Brees and made some decision about what to do with Rivers. But for a team that at one time had Ryan Leaf as their quarterback, I am more than happy to have Phillip Rivers, number 17, at the helm of my San Diego Chargers. Now, I am by default a Cyclones fan. I'll just admit that to you. My wife is a Cyclones graduate. Many in her family are ISU graduates, so we are ISU and not University of Iowa. And that is just the way it's going to be. In fact, my little 9-year-old daughter is already a Cyclones fan and will never be a Hawkeyes fan. But I follow the teams from the periphery, so to speak, and root for the Cyclones and root against the Hawkeyes. Love to be able to watch someday a game at Jack Trice Stadium in Ames. Haven't been there, been by it many times, driven by it quite a few times, and never had the chance to see a live Cyclones game, but maybe that will change. Oh, on my wish list for early 2011, I'm going to go to a Barnstormers game at Wells Fargo. Many years ago, when I was visiting, I went to an old Barnstormers game at the Memorial Auditorium, at the Vet, and that was a lot of fun. And I expect it will be very fun to finally get to a new Barnstormers game at Wells Fargo. Nice place, only been there once for an event, went to Super Bowl last winter, but what a nice place. And it would be nice if my hometown of San Diego had a nice arena like Wells Fargo. All right, we're just about out of time on this debut edition of My World, My People on Webcast One Live. We'll do this show every Thursday live on Webcast One Live, and already got guests scheduled coming into next week, so we're going to have a lot of fun on this broadcast. I want to thank you for joining us. Been a lot of fun. My name is John Hernandez. I will be here with you every Thursday for My World, My People on Webcast One Live.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios. Listen, watch, chat. This is Webcast One Live. Programs on webcast1live.com are brought to you in part by KDC Builders, building custom homes for how you live. KDC will take your dreams and turn them into reality. Go to our website, kdcbuilt.com, or call Hannah Inman at 515-975-9990. And Tom Coates and ConsumerCreditOfAmerica.com. Are you overwhelmed with mounted credit card debt and feel there's no way out? Well, there is. Call 1-800-955-5765 for Consumer Credit of America. That's ccofamerica.com.